Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Lisa's Love and Light. Happy Friday, TGIF, to everybody. This is a long weekend and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, after all that rain last night for the last 2 days or so, we had all this rain and wow, it's just been crazy. Last night, about 1 a.m., there was this loud, like thunder, lightning, and wow, it was like really woke me up out of my sleep. But how are you guys doing? Thank you so much for the comments. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And that shows me that these messages are resonating with everyone. And I'm so happy about that. Because as I pay it forward and know that it's going to help other people, it helps me as well to stay on this path and to keep going and to never give up. So I'm going to always keep encouraging you guys. We know this is not easy, but necessary for our peace of mind and our stability of our mental and physical health. That is so important, guys, especially with all this toxicity and stuff that's going on and uncertainty in this world today. So keep taking care of yourself, even if you take an hour or so, but do something that uplift your spirit that you love. Some people like to play tennis. Some people love music like I do. Listen to some soft music, have that glass of wine if you need to, but not at work, of course. And just exercise you like that. Do things to lift your spirit and keep your spirits high. Because as you do that, you won't allow yourself to fall into that toxicity because it will lower your vibrations. I mean, we have to take in a little bit of it every day so that we know what's going on, but we don't have to be glued to it, and that's important. And thank you again for being here. Before I get into the topic of discussion, hurting people, using people, taken from people because they feel entitled to do so. I want to talk a few minutes about entitlement because I don't understand it. A lot of people in this world today feel entitled to take from others, to say who deserve what and who doesn't. Even though, let's say you did a whole lot of work, right, on yourself. You went to college, you did A, B, C, and D. You acquired experience for whatever position you're doing, right? And you worked hard for it. You did put in the work. However, there are some people who feel like they are entitled to things whether they did the work or not, just because. They want it quick like a microwave without doing the work. And they envy you for doing so. And if you start to see a lot of improvement, because I do everything with the help of God, prayer, meditation, etc., and I continue to move forward. And when some people see that and things are going well and you are within alignment because you're doing things in an upright, they feel some kind of way to it. How dare you think that you should have this or that, A, B, C, D, and E? When they feel entitled to it, whether they did the work or not, whether they put in the hard work or not, they just feel entitled to it. They want it quick like a microwave. Well, let me tell you something about that. No one is entitled to anything. It is by the grace and mercy of God that we are even here, that we woke up this morning. This world is so on taking things from other people instead of doing the work. Not everyone, but, that seems to be the theme somewhat, because they feel entitled to do so. And it is by the grace and mercy of God that any of us exist. We could fall asleep at night and not wake up in the morning because God could say, okay, time's up. Here's your expiration date right here. And where's your entitlement? It's down the drain. So we should show gratitude every day of our life. I'm going to tell you guys, from 2020 to 21, I have never experienced death like that. And when I'm talking about death, I'm talking about people that were dear to me who were dropping like flies during that time, just like a domino effect, one after the other after another, including my mother, my dog, a very good friend of mine, the people I love very much, just being out of here. So tomorrow is not promised to anybody. And when I get up every morning, the first thing I do is give gratitude and show gratitude to God and say, thank you, Heavenly Father God, for waking me up, because He didn't have to. So when we're in a place of gratitude and humility, we can manifest and we can receive, and we stay in a place of prayer, and we, take the time for others, because it's not a one man show. It's not all about us. And we give back. God will give to us, But what you manifest, if it's all toxicity and I'm going to get what I want, when I want, however I want, I'm going to take it, then someone will come and take from you, because that's what you're manifesting into this world. And what you put out is what you get back in. And that is a fact. No matter whether people believe that or not, it will show itself in that way. So it's important to show gratitude, especially I learned to do that even every day after seeing all these people I love die like flies, one after the other, and I learned through healing, to change my mindset, to see things from a different perspective, to see there's another way, to do things instead of hurting people and trying to take and trying to do this and that, put all that hard work and energy into healing, and then when you heal, you grow, heal, and evolve, and you can manifest what you want, that way. Positive things, not by taking from others. But I never understood this entitlement that people think that they have. We're all in human form. We all have an expiration date, and we need to show gratitude. And while we here, uplift instead of tearing down, because there's too much of that in this world. And I just wanted to touch on that before I get into the topic of discussion today, because I see a lot of that. And, I just wanted to address that. No one in particular here, but, if anyone is going through that, I'm addressing it here. So with that being said, keep in mind that I'm not a therapist, counselor, or social worker. I'm someone who went through all these deaths, and I'm also a 9/11 survivor. I was there. Not, I saw a lot of stuff there, and I show a lot of gratitude to God. Because life is precious. So the topic of discussion is heal in order not to allow grief to overtake you. We're going to talk about grief today. Heal in order not to allow grief to overtake you. And last night, in the past, I talked about having grief-stricken moments. And last night I had one because I really wanted to talk to Mom about some things she told me before she passed over, to do. And I started to do those things, and she was right about it. And I wish I could talk to her. And because I couldn't, I just felt an overwhelming amount of tears, until I cried myself to sleep last night. People don't know what I go through. They think I know me. Oh, you got this, you got that. No, nothing comes easy. I had to do a lot of work, and I still do work. I'm imperfect. I cry, and, I miss my mom so much. And when I want to have that, especially when I have that overwhelming desire to talk to her, and it just come out in tears. And it's okay to cry because it's a outlet for the pain. Otherwise, it stays stuck and stagnated within. Grief can really overwhelm you when you least expect it. I did not expect that last night. But I had a grief of moment, crying over Mom, missing her. And the most part that hurts the most is that I can't talk to her, see her, or hear her stories, her laughter. I miss all that. So guys, if you still have your parents and your loved ones here, hug them every day, tell them every day while they're here, not after they're gone, but while they're here, that you love them, and show them how much you care for them through gestures of kindness and generosity. because one day they won't be here. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. We may think it is because we get up and go through the everyday things that we do. But tomorrow is not promised to anyone. That's why we need to make the best of all our time. I believe that our passed over loved ones will send us signs, especially when we start grieving so hard that they're not here. I do believe that because earlier today, a red cardinal was on my car. And I was like, oh, wow, I think that's a sign from mom, because I was crying so much last night about it. And it's just, I don't know, people believe in that, but this is, what I believe. They send us little signs to comfort us because it has been hard because there was no funeral either. We had a memorial service because, like I said, it was during a shutdown. And during that time, nobody was having funerals, only online Zoom services. And because of the COVID, no one didn't know a lot about it at that time. And so we never had a funeral service, but we had a memorial service. And it just feels like there was never any closure to it. Maybe that's why I grieve so hard sometimes. And the things that used to do with my mother and etc., I still, it's just, some days it's just hard. But I haven't had a grief moment like I had last night in a while. But it does happen. That's another thing, guys, with relationships, anybody or friendships for me, because sometimes I have a moment of grief and nobody really seen that. Only one person have seen that, and it's just sometimes it just comes out, and sometimes I feel a little like awkward with it, but it happens, you know. You never get over it, but you can get through it, and I know that from where I was back in 2020 up until where I am today. So it's important to do the work, and for me, um, just taking breaks because I work a lot. And I think what happens is because I work so much sometimes that I'm not thinking about it. And then when I have a moment to myself, it just comes out. But, you know, if you are going through something like that, take one day at a time. I would suggest therapy because therapy helped me so much. It was the first place that I started, with the therapist because it's like a metaphor that I use. You have a whole box, right, of pieces of puzzles, and you turn that box over. You don't know what that picture is until you start to do the work and put the pieces together. And afterward, you can see what that picture is. It's very clear to you. You have the clarity of it. And that's how it is with this healing. There's no instruction book to tell you how to heal. You figure it out as you go along, and that's okay, guys. Like I did, with my therapist giving me the work to make a pro and con list. And before doing any of that, he said to me, Lisa, set boundaries. Because when I did open up and start to talk to him, I was talking about a lot of stuff, and he didn't have a whole lot to say, but set boundaries and sometimes set strong boundaries depending on how toxic the situations were. And it's so important to do that because grief sometimes is like wearing blinders because people leech on to you during those times and you don't see that these people are not there for good reasons, until you can find your way through the grief and take the blinders off and see what's really going on. And this can happen. And I've been in those situations. And, for me, setting boundaries and cutting off, blocking, and deleting the toxicity and the negative energy. Because if you continue to not set boundaries, then you can't focus on your mental and physical health. And your mental health, for me, it was really affected by all these losses, because these losses were so unexpected. And especially one with a friend of mine who was only like maybe a couple of years older than me. We volunteered, at the soup kitchen, and we were supposed to meet 2 days right before I found out that she had passed away. And I'm like, what are you talking about when I found out? We're supposed to get together, blah, blah. What? And it was just all these unexpected deaths, you know. And then you try to get through that one, and then boom, here's another one over here, another one over there, and it just becomes overwhelming. And I had to do the work. And it's important, if any of you guys are going through that, to find a grief therapist or a therapist that you can connect with, you know, that will work with you and help you through these things. Remember, therapy, you know, as you talk about these things, is an outlet for the pain. The pain has to have some place to go. And if you don't do anything, it stays stuck and stagnated within you, and it come out maybe sometimes in negative ways, you know. And I didn't want that. I know that my mom wants me to live my life to the fullest. You know, my last conversation with her, she knew she was on her way out. And one of the reasons I think I had that episode last night is because you guys know how Facebook send memories and stuff to you. I had a picture of me and my mom, and was the very last picture of us together. I had my son to take it when I visited her. It was the last visit before she passed away. And then she was so sick and frail, and, you know, she knew she wasn't going to make it. And I had to step away from her for a minute to go to the front desk, and I was crying my eyes out. And when that picture popped up last night, it was just, oh no. And then I just found myself, just the tears also, you know, because it's very difficult, you know, when a parent goes, you know, especially both of them, it makes you feel like an orphan. But you can get through it one day at a time, one brick at a time. It has been painful, but at times, but you always have like that void feeling, but you can overcome the pain day by day, step by step. And to know and always know that your Passover loved ones, whether it's a parent or not, would never want you to stay in a place of depression, pain, and grief. They will want you to live your life to the fullest. And that's what, you know, my therapist always kept saying to me, especially when I had those moments of grief. I remember one time he was crying with me throughout the session because it's so painful. You know, and one of the ways, like I said, we didn't have a funeral. We had a memorial service because she was already buried by that time. And because of the COVID, we couldn't have a public service. So that made it even worse, guys. But like I said, be in an upright, you know, do the work to heal your mental and physical. And if you have a support system of friends and family, use that, utilize that. I know they can't bring anybody back or do anything, but when you have someone who can just listen and understand and just be there for you, that helps a lot when you're going through the grief. You know you don't have to go through it alone. And if you are in a situation like I was and you had no support system, utilize therapy. And there are also grief support systems, online or in person, where you hear stories of other people who are going through similar experiences as yourself. Utilize those things because it's an outlet for the pain. It's a stepping stone. One day at a time, one brick at a time. You don't have to go through this alone. Because some people, if you don't do the work, it can get to a place of depression and despair. And you don't ever want it to get that far. So take care of yourself, people. And if other people don't understand, that's on them because maybe they haven't had your experiences. But for me, the boundaries were necessary because the same toxic behavior was displaying itself over and over through people and situations, and I couldn't handle anymore. My mental health was affected by all these deaths and things that was happening, and I had to close some doors of toxicity because when I would set boundaries, the boundaries were being disrespected, and I had to just close some doors. And it's important. But now I realize that as I changed my mindset and did the work, that even though it's sad that those doors closed, But God has better doors opening over here that are opening in my life as I do the work, as I stay in prayer, as I ask God to help me. God will lift you up from the dirt and from the bottom, and He'll raise you up. And I want to be an example to others to show them that I didn't have a support system except for God. And when I say except for God, I mean I didn't have anyone in the natural, I guess this is the way to say it, that was cheering, supporting me and say, Lisa, I got your back, etc., and so forth. I had to really dig deep and do the work and drag myself. And I asked God to help me. And my strength comes from God now. The strength that I gain as I did the work from God Himself. And it's like I made vows too, vows that I can keep. And now I have learned to turn that pain into power, power into purpose, purpose into paying it forward to help other people so that they can do the same. And as I help others, it helps me as well to stay on this journey and to help people and to continue, because we need to heal in order to grow and evolve. And as you do so, you feel better. You feel better, you do better. That is the message today, everyone. Enjoy this Memorial Day holiday. Don't forget why it's Memorial Day. Remember those who are no longer here. Also, enjoy your time off. I will be back on Tuesday with a new message because I'm going to enjoy my holiday weekend. And you guys do the same. Just take care of yourself, one day at a time, one step at a time. Nothing ventured is nothing gained. Again, that's the message today. This is Lisa, shedding love and light and encouraging you guys. And if you feel like commenting, send me some comments on how these messages are resonating with you and helping you. Well, guys, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye for now.